guys, welcome back to my channel, Callie's Kingdom, and today is a very exciting video. So I know that it's probably the middle of July when this comes out for you, but it is earlier in July for me, and I'm going to do my July TBR. But I'm not just doing my July TBR, I'm going to put a little spin on it. So I don't know if you've watched any booktubers and seen them done like the TBR like jar challenge with like different prompts. Well, this is not entirely a jar and it doesn't look like it's filled up, but I have a bunch of papers in here with different prompts. And I'm going to choose some of those, and then I'm going to put it on a book bingo board with like all the prompts down there. And then for some of the prompts, I might choose a few books afterwards to then like try to create bingo with it and everything. It sounds a bit confusing, and I kind of just like to make things complicated for myself because I have nothing else to do this summer. Well, I do have a lot of other things to do this summer, but right now I don't have anything to do. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so first, I'm going to start at the top. So I'll fill in that box and then I'll go through all the others. So the first prompt is, drumroll please, book with a quest. So obviously all of these books prompts aren't going to be used because once I write them all down, I'm going to choose a couple to try to create a bingo with. But then other books, I might have like other spaces filled out, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see if I keep this for next month or if I just do it the TBR jar and pick a couple and have to read those, or what I'll do. But bear with me here. So the next one is books with multiple POVs. I love books with multiple POVs. I think it's a really cool way to get to know different characters and be inside their mind, but there are many ways that authors can get this wrong by making the POVs too similar to each other. But let's see what the third one is. There's two that want to come out. I guess I'll do both of the two. Book with an animal on the cover. Okay. I don't know how I feel, like multiple POVs, I felt a certain way, but I don't even know if I have any books with an animal on the cover, but I will be looking at some of my books afterwards, and also some books that I've been wanting to read that I can get from the library to do. So it's not just all that's on my physical TBR, but other stuff as well. And the other one that came up was genre mashup. So this could be like combining like fantasy with a thriller, different things like that, which is pretty cool. I'm actually reading a book. It's my second book of July because I was finishing up another book that advertised itself as a fantasy thriller genre mashup, but it really just reads more like a fantasy, so I don't know why it was advertised as a thriller, but we'll see. Book with sisters. Okay. And I think I didn't say this before, but I am only, even if a book matches like a couple of these prompts, I'm only going to choose it for the best one that I think will help me get bingo for this month. So, book with the shortest title you own. That's pretty cool. I'm going to have to look through a bunch of these. And obviously this is the book with the shortest title I own that I haven't read yet. So if there's a book with a really short title that like I just read or something, that doesn't count. Hopefully this is an interesting video since it's a lot of me just writing down stuff. We'll see. It's kind of experimental this month. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Okay, we still have a lot more to go, so. Book based off of a booktuber's recommendation. Okay, that's a good one since I watch a bunch of people on YouTube who are booktubers, and if I hear a book that sounds good, I always kind of jot it down, and if I hear a book continually mentioned, then I know that it's probably good. Okay. Hopefully you guys get some recommendations from me as well in my channel. And the next one is on your shelf for over a year. That would be a good one to help me get down my physical TBR. I actually don't have that big of a physical TBR. Like, obviously, I have a lot of books that I own, but since I have a smaller bookshelf, and I also do not have, like, a real, like, actual job right now, oh, I just wrote that wrong. That's what I get for trying to multitask and talk to you guys. I don't spend a lot of my money on books. Surprising. Last month was like very, very out of my comfort zone, buying like books in a month. But normally I just like ask for books for my birthday or I buy them cheap from some places. And every once in a while I'll buy a couple that are like the full price. But ooh, murder mystery books. I love murder mysteries. That's exciting. I think the book that got me into murder mystery books, because I really normally only read fantasy before, was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I actually got that book last summer, and I've been hooked on murder mysteries ever since. Ooh, sci-fi book. Sci-fi is a genre that I don't read a lot, but the ones that I do read, if they're like young adult sci-fi, I normally really enjoy. So hopefully that will help me continue that and read more sci-fi. Time travel. I don't think I have a bunch of time travel books, and time travel is kind of a hard one to do right. I honestly don't think I've read like any time travel. Maybe I have, but I can't remember. So that'd be an interesting one to try to look up and find a time travel book. Well, a book that includes royalty, your classic fantasy. I can think of a couple that I have. Book includes royalty. Okay. We're halfway done, guys. Well, halfway done choosing. Then I'll get to choose what row or what couple of rows I want to try to get bingo through and pick out a couple books for my TBR. Okay, spin-off book. So that one I was kind of aiming for as like the original book series is done, or like not done, but there's the original book series and then there's a book that takes place in the same world or with some of the same characters or a side character, and it's kind of like a spin-off. Kind of like if you know a spin-off TV series. I got two again, so let's see. Book that's a dystopian. Again with the sci-fi type thing where, I mean, dystopian's not sci-fi, but I do like books that are dystopians. And I don't read as many of those, so that might help me with that. And I do have one dystopian that I haven't read, which is also a spin-off from Divergent. But I don't think I have a lot of others, but I have some down on my TBR that I could probably check out of the library. And a book that's over 500 plus pages. Well, I guess why did I put plus? Like, okay, I'll just say book that's over 500 pages. I don't know if I own a book that's over 500 pages. I think like a lot of people, big books scare me. I think like the 300 to 400 pages is a good range for me, but I don't tend to reach for a lot of books that are like that big. But book with a romance subplot. So basically any young adult book these days that is not a full-on romance. I like romance subplots if they're done right. A lot of ones are kind of just shoved in there, but I really tend to enjoy more romance subplots than actual romance, like fully where it focuses fully on the novel's romance. So, book by an author you've never read before. That's a good one to branch out of the authors I know and try a different one. But I think a lot of the books on my shelf that I have on my physical TBR are by authors that I've already read and that I know I like their books, or like second books in the series, different things like that. So we'll see. Okay. The next one is book set in a magical place. Well, that's pretty easy since I like fantasy, and pretty much any fantasy is set in a magical place. That's kind of like a freebie, almost. I mean, I guess if you have a fantasy set in the real world, but like, there'd probably still be magical places in it. I don't know. I guess that wouldn't count as much. Okay. Books that's been on your TBR for way too long. That's a good one too. That's much like the one that's been on my shelf for over a year. This is really trying to help me get down my books. Although, I guess this doesn't have to be one that I physically own. It could just be one that was on my TBR that I haven't read yet. Okay. That was long to write. We have most of them filled in and just one more row to go. So let's see. Book written before 2020. Okay. I normally don't pay attention to the publication dates unless they're like coming out this year. So I'll have to go looking through a couple books to see if I choose this route. And let's see what else. Book that's a fantasy. Another freebie for me. It's pretty nice. I think this is a fun way to set my TBR that's a little different than just like, oh, what book do I want to read now? It's kind of like a challenge. And I had an extra page in my bullet journal. Another thing, other than books and reading, I love bullet journaling, and other than bullet journaling, because I already have a bunch of book-related pages in here, I've also wanted to start a reading journal, so yeah. Book that is very popular. Okay. I can think of a bunch of books that I've heard from that is very popular right now. One that I've heard all over the place is Fourth Wing, which it sounds like an interesting premise, especially since I love dragons, but it's kind of intimidating since it's new adult instead of young adult, and I've heard that it's like a lot on the romance, so I don't know, but maybe I'll read it sometime and just skip over some scenes that I don't feel like reading. You know what scenes, not just like random scenes that I'm like, I don't feel like reading this scene, like book you think will be 5 stars. That's a good one. We are always aiming to read 5-star books, so it'll be interesting to pick one that I think will be 5 stars and see if it will actually be 5 stars. Hopefully I'm not writing anything wrong by talking and doing it at the same time, but this is the last one, guys. What will it be? Title begins with the. That's kind of a simple one. There's a lot of books that the title begins with the. Title begins with the. Okay! And our board is all filled out, and now I can play book bingo! So, I guess first I will cross off the free space since it's free, and I don't need to do anything to get that. And then first, let me see. I don't think I'm going to go for this column here because it has book that's over 500 pages and time travel, both things which I don't really have. But let's see, what would be a good one? I feel like this one would be the easiest, the second one that has multiple POVs, book based off of booktuber's recommendation, book includes royalty, book includes romance subplot, and book that's a fantasy. That would be the easiest for me, since those are all book types that I tend to read, but let me see if there's any other ones that would be interesting. I'm going to look over this a little bit, and then I'll get back to you with the books that are on my TBR for this month. So like many people are, I'm kind of more of like a mood reader. What am I in the mood to read? And although I like to set TBRs, it's a little bit hard to stick to them, especially like I'll start on it and I'll be doing very good. And then I'll be like, oh, what about this book? In this book. And then I create a whole nother TBR, and then I start reading those books, and then once again, I get distracted. So I could find totally different books by the time this month is through and not stick with these, but I decided to pull from the ones that I physically have right now and just name a couple of books to try to help me do book bingo. So the first row that I'm going to do is I'm just going to name a few for the center row because I'll only need to read 4 for that. And this month I've not been reading as fast as last month, but we'll see if that changed. So first of all, this one starts with book with an animal on the cover. And, oh wait, I already read this one. Never mind, this is not the sequel. I was trying to get the sequel to Three Dark Crowns. And this one does not have an animal. So, there goes that plan. Let's see, do any of these other books have an animal? Okay, the one that I'm reading right now, has The Vanishing Deep, has a dead fish. Will we say that counts? Maybe. Who knows? Okay, book that's been on my shelf for over a year. So a book that's been on my shelf for over a year, I think I have 2, really, and they're both sequels, and this is the only book that is over 500 pages, and it's The Rule of Wolves, which is the sequel to The King of Scars, and I loved Six of Crows. I loved, why am I blanking on the name, you know, like Ruin and Rising, all that. The other book in the series, it will come to me, but King of Scars was okay for me. I think I rated it 3 stars, but I was in the middle of it and I just wanted to get the second one as well, so I think I got that. But it is so big and I don't know if I want to dedicate all that time, but look at how pretty this is. It's so pretty. Even the inside, like, I do want to read it sometime, and this has been on my shelf for over a year, begging to be read. I'll have to review the other one and see, but maybe this will be the month. Will this be my month? Will I attack Rule of Wolves this month? Stay tuned to see. But that does not have an animal on its cover. That's just been on my shelf for over a year. Oh wait, I already said that. I'm so forgetful. Okay. Book by an author I've never read before. This one, I've already read. I finished it at the beginning of this month, but... Oh wait, no, I was going to use this... Scratch that. I am so frazzled today, I don't know. Book by an author I've never read before. These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I just got this book for $3, and it's hardcover, and it's so pretty. I mean, look at underneath this too. I love when it's pretty underneath the dust jackets, and it also came with the free bookmark. I mean, it wasn't free, this was at a used bookstore, so someone just forgot their beautiful mermaid bookmark in there, and I will take it, and it also doubles as a ruler. I hope you guys are here for this chaos of me forgetting everything. But this is a book by an author I've never read before, and then a book that's very popular, this book that I already read, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Although this is not, like, the hype was a couple years ago, it was very popular, and I think it still is very popular. Shout out to my friend who got this for me. So, if that was our TBR, this would be, if I did that row, this would be our TBR. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, These Violent Lights, Rule of Wolves, and The Vanishing Deep, which I'm reading right now. But, what if we go in another direction? What if we go in that one row, this row right here, that I said would it be very easy for me, since it was a lot of what I normally read. So if I'm going for more of, like, an effortless month, like, what do I want to read? Multiple POVs, The Vanishing Deep. Obviously, I can't cross this off for multiple, but if this is the row I'm going for, instead of crossing it off for that other row, I'd cross it off for this row. This follows two different people, a girl named Tempe, and then a boy named Lore, and they kind of switch off POVs. And I'm already reading it right now, so... Book based off of a booktuber's recommendation, I'd have to go Sorcery of Thorns by Carrie Can Read. I saw this book before and I thought it was good, but other than the reason that I found this for $2 that my Goodwill that made me pick it up was the booktuber Carrie Can Read. I love her channel, and she has not stopped raving about this book for so many videos that it really drew me to it, and I kind of want to read about magical libraries this month. So there's that. Book that includes royalty. This is where I can do the One Dark Throne. I think I got this last Christmas and I haven't read it yet, but I really enjoyed the first one. I think I rated it 4 stars, maybe 4.5. But then I can continue on with it because this includes royalty. It actually includes 3 sisters who basically have to fight to the death to see who's queen. And then book with the romance subplot. Here I can also go back to These Violent Delights because I heard it's a Romeo and Juliet retelling that's fantasy, but also set in Shanghai. It just sounds very intriguing. But I'm sure lots of books include romance subplots. So many young adult fantasy books include romance subplots. And I'm not mad about it as long as they do the romance right. And then books that's a fantasy. Literally, I could basically do so many books that I read, but I'd choose for this one the book that I have checked out from the library, Ash Princess, which was also in my summer TBR. So, this one would be all these. And actually, for the fantasy as well, I think I could also put in The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue if I end up not reading one of those. And then that could be my TBR for the month. But this is the last option that I'm going to say in this video, but who knows, by the end of the month, I might change it all up. So this is this row down here that I said I probably wasn't going to do because it had a book with over 500 pages, but we have this one. And like I said, this has also been on my TBR for too long, so that would be a good one to read. And then book with the romance subplot. There are so many. Let's see, which one could I do? I think Sorcery of Thorns has a romance subplot, but also The Gilded Cage, which is the second book of The Prison Healer, has a romance subplot, so I could do either of those. Actually, I could even do The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I don't know if people would... It's not like a stereotypical romance subplot, but there is a romance in here. And it's kind of part of the main plot. I don't know. But I could also... Okay, scratch that. I'll do one of those two for the book with the romance subplot, and book by an author I've never read before could be this, because I hadn't read V.E. Schwab before I read this book. And then books that set in a magical place, I could do The Vanishing Deep, because I actually love the magical world that they have. And then book that's been on my TBR way too long would probably be Dark Triumph, which I read the first book, and I liked it. I don't think I loved it, but I wanted to continue on with the series and see where it ended. And that was at a time where I basically just, like, whenever I read the first book in a series, I wanted to continue reading. So I got this book, like, last year maybe, so I have this. And then that could be my TBR. So there's so many books that I can read. Who knows if I'll read these books or other books or what? But let me just hope that I get bingo before this month is up. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And comment down below what books are still on your TBR for July, what books you've already read for July, and if you have read any of these books in this video. I've seen a lot of authors say, like, oh, if you made it to the end or you made it to this point, comment down below an emoji so that way I know, and I think I might do that as well. So if you made it to this point, since it's summer and it's July, comment down below a sun emoji. And I hope you have a great summer and a great reading month for July, and I'll see you next video. Bye!